For this week 7 discussion, my favorite color is blue and my least favorite color is red. The RGB triplet for blue is 5, 132, 232. And in order to convert this to a hexadecimal, the first thing I did was I wrote out the not seven, six values that are in a hexadecimal and divided each one into groups of two, so that way I knew each number in the triplet would have two places. So looking at that first number, the 5 in the triplet, 16 doesn't go into 5 at all. And since the biggest placeholder in those two spots are 16 and 16 doesn't go into 5, I put a 0 and then I'm just left with 5 ones. And then so that I put a 5 in that place. And then going on to the next number, 132. Dividing 132 by 16 gives me 8. So I put that in the 16's place and then I'm left with 4 ones and put that in the ones place. And then looking at the 232, dividing 232 by 16 gets me 14. And since that is a double digit, that can't go in the 14 just on its own can't go in that spot. So you have to convert to a letter, and the corresponding letter for 14 is E. And then 16 times 14 is 224. Subtract that from 232, your starting number, and you're left with 8. So I'm left with 8 ones. And all of that results in a hexadecimal of hashtag 0584E8. And then for my least favorite color, red, converting the hexadecimal into an RGB triplet, the hexadecimal is E80505. So the first thing I did was I grouped the hexadecimal into groups of two, so that way I knew E8 would correspond to the red number, the triplet, 05 would be the green, and the second 05 would be the blue. So looking at the E8, 14 is a number that corresponds to the letter E. So I know 14 goes into the 16's place. And 14 times 16 is 224 plus 8. Since 8 is in the ones, that would result in 232, which is what would be the red number in the triplet. And then the last two were pretty easy since it's 05. There's nothing in the 16th place and you're just left with 5 ones. So both of those numbers for the green and blue would be 5. So the resulting triplet would be 232 5 5. The most surprising thing I found from this unit was just how numbers can be translated into colors and vice versa. We live in a very mathematical world, especially now with computers. Those run all on numbers. And to have something that is visual, like color, for that to be converted into numbers, I just think is really interesting. And also to have it in a way where every color is encompassed in the system that we have. And part of that too is just the base system, the base 16 system. And there's a lot of possibilities color wise that encompass that. And I just think it's interesting how changing the base can actually have a huge impact on what you can do with the numbers. Because in our regular base 10 system, we wouldn't be able to do everything that we can with the hexadecimal system. So I just think the differences, especially when you're looking at the changes in the base number, are really interesting.